Hello, my name is Trydar. Welcome back to part 2 of building my version of Vesko's base in Minecraft. And let's just pick up exactly where we left off here at level 33. So the last time here, I described this level to you here. So let us move on to level 35, which is now the height of your structure. As you know, the tutorial is laid out. We're going up at 2 block slices until we get all the way to the top. So I'm going to describe the next slice to you. Now, in this phase over here, it's getting a little bit complicated because as you can see, our diagonal piers here are now intersecting with the center line down below here. So on this side over here, you're going to start mirroring the blocks over there because this is where the side diagonal piers are going to start meeting at the top here fairly soon. So the piers over here, you want to continue building these up as before, but along here, things are getting a little bit different. On the sides here, you want to continue up the patterns, but they're going to be colliding together and meeting in the center here. So bear that in mind as I show this to you. The diagonals, as you can see here, are heading up towards the top here. We're continuing to hide some sea lanterns down in these areas here. And on the exterior here, at this level, you're now adding a band of dark prismarine. And both sides of that are, of course, same along here. So let's take a look at the exterior pier here. It is extending out 45 degrees according to the same pattern. These are going to be the easiest piers to build. They're not as complicated as the double diagonal ones we have going on over here. But over here, we did put a line of dark prismarine in the last phase over here. So you're going to want to start building a little ledge out of prismarine over here, dark prismarine. But on the inside here, you want to have one block come out here because as you expect, this is going to be the beginning of another 45-degree angle that's going to be going up in that direction there. So you want to make sure you've got that correct. And of course, mirror the exact same thing facing the other direction on the exterior of the octagonal ring. And the same also goes for this pier over here as well. So with that done, we can proceed over here to the next phase, for which the height of your base should be at 37 blocks. And as you can see, as I've said, we are now starting to collide everything together in the middle here. To help you with this, if you need to, you can draw center lines from the main vertical line here out for some blocks there, which will help you get this pattern here done. It's kind of complicated because everything is colliding together at the top here. So let me give you a view from the bottom and the view from the middle here, the side over here, and this side around here. And at this point, we have our exterior done like that. And the band over the side here is now coming across like this with some sea lanterns underneath it like that. The side piers are coming out 2 additional blocks at a 45-degree angle, pretty much of all dark prismarine here, with, of course, some sea lanterns hidden back here and some prismarine done back here. And they are continuing also out the side here with the same pattern you've been building. Just build it out another 2 blocks there. So let's give you a good side view of what we've got going on here. And a view from the top of this pier. And the top down of the diagonal one over here. And of course, you want to build that pier out there the same as here. And that one there, facing in the other direction, the same as that one over there. Let us move on to the next phase. At this level, your base should be 39 blocks tall. And things are getting complicated, a little bit messy in the middle here. So we have the piers are colliding together around here. So here's a view from the bottom. And a view from the side here. I think I need to give you a good long, slow look at this from several angles to help you get the blocks placed correctly. This is going to be one of the more difficult aspects of building this. And of course, to help you with this, you can draw a connecting center line from that over there. The view from the top here. And I think some of this back here doesn't quite matter. That's left over from when I was colliding the structures together in MC Edit. So let's take a look around the sides of it. We have our diagonals over here. With the prismarine and dark prismarine. The exterior over here, this is now bending outwards. And it's doing it pretty much according to the same pattern that I described several phases ago. Like that. And like this. And over here, we're doing it the same. On the inside and the outside. And just behind these hide your sea lanterns. And on the piers over here, we now have the division of the 45-degree angle around here. It's being divided like that. And it's going up 2 more blocks in this direction over here. And over there. And below it like that. And as you can expect, this is following pretty much the same pattern as what you've been doing over here, which you're continuing out. But at this phase, you want to not have this go out like that, but have it go straight up like that on the top block over here. And you want to have the dark prismarine side bands follow the same pattern. So a good long look at this here from this point. Along here. And from the center over here. And of course, your inner and outer piers are still going up unchanged. However, I think I should, because this is colliding together over here, I should go over here and give you a view of a pier that does not collide with anything. And as you can see, it's a standard design here going up in the same pattern. Along here. And it is also beginning to bend outwards on this segment over here. The same as the inner pier. But this is what it would look like if you were not colliding everything together, approaching a central block. So if you need this to help you with the interior design, just remember that this is here to give you a frame of reference for the interior diagonal pier. So with that done, let's fly over here to the next phase. At this point, your base should be 41 blocks tall, and the central diagonal piers should now be meeting in the middle around here. And I've chosen to detail this with a little ring of sea lanterns around the top here. So let me give you a good side view of this. Remember, it looks a little bit messy because we are colliding together that outer pier over here. We're just moving it to the center and colliding it with 4 additional piers of exactly the same design. So a view from below here. And the sides here. It looks like at this point we are also curving in the exterior of the pier over here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the outer one. At this point, this pier now stops going outwards and starts going upwards at these 3 blocks right here. So we're on these 2 blocks here from the previous phase, and it's also going up on the interior around here. 2 blocks as well, done according to this pattern here. And on the outside, we are now extending both inwards and outwards diagonals over here. So you want to make the outer leaning diagonals like this here. It's the same pattern as was done for the interior one. For this over here, you're just making that on the other side. And you're beginning to turn this and extend this upwards, and that's going to be going upwards like that, and that's going to go outwards a little, and then it will turn back up like that. So let's talk about the straight piers over here. It's pretty much the same. These are fairly easy to do. We're just extending everything out outwards and upwards another 2 blocks along here, and upwards over here 2 blocks like that. So this section down here is going to be mirroring what we did down there with those vertical walls, and it's going to be going straight up for a distance before it turns and goes the other way. So I believe that covers everything there is to do with this phase over here. So let's move on 2 more blocks up. At this point, your base should be approaching 43 blocks tall. And we get quite messy around in this section over here. I think most of this is leftover garbage from when I was colliding the entire structure together, so you don't have to build this in here. But let's take a look at what's going on around here. From the the sea lantern ring, we've got these details here that are going in like that. I think these sections are mostly hidden from view, so you might want to just fill them in solid with something. I don't think they matter too much. It's just where it meets below here is what you want to focus on. So I'll give you a good look at that. And you're extending the diagonal walls in like so. And they're all pointing towards your center line over there. We also have the meeting of these 2 piers over here. So as I've remarked, this pier is going inwards, and it's very shortly going to be, I think, colliding with that also. But the interior diagonals along here are now touching. So they're meeting with each other along here on the inside and the outside. I think the best way I can describe that is to show you this pier out here where it's not doing that. So this is what it looks like from the side here. As you can see, it's the same pattern that I've described to you. The 45-degree angle with the hidden sea lanterns behind it. Pretty much 5 blocks tall as a rule. And they're going upwards and outwards along the sides here. And upwards and outwards along that side there. And they're going straight up along over here. And they should now be at about 5 blocks tall on the exterior over here. So I'll give you a good panning view of this around here because you want to build this exact same thing in the middle for that pier over there. And the side piers over here are pretty much the same story. You want to have them going along here, going upwards along there, and outwards along here. You should know by now how to do that pattern, so I'm not going to spend too much time explaining it. But as I've said, you want to build the same thing in here, but at this point you should now have these two be touching with the dark prismarine right there. Okay, with that phase done, let us move on over here. Your base should now be 45 blocks tall. And I think for the interior here, you're now extending all of these walls pretty much straight up. 2 more blocks from what we described before. And the only complicated part is going to be over here, where the diagonal and straight piers start meeting each other. So you're extending those inwards like that along the inside and vertically out here along that side with this side thing along here coming in along this way. And you also want to, at this point, your 45-degree angle at the top of this is going to start going in 2 blocks over there because it's going to start going up in that direction along there fairly soon. So let me give you a good slow view of this intersection over here. And a view out here of what's going on the outer ring. We have the walls are going straight up on that section. The diagonals are continuing along both sections over here. They're continuing outwards according to the same diagonal as before on both sides. And this pier over here is doing the exact same thing. The only change is this little part around here. Otherwise, you just want to repeat the entire pattern for that as you have been doing all along. All right, let's move on to the next phase. As you can see, we're starting to connect things a little. At this phase, your base should be 47 blocks tall. On the interior, you're extending up the walls on the interior here, like so, remembering to leave space for your beacon beams. And you have the diagonals coming in like so, and some more collision of these piers over here. As you can see, this pattern here is now intersecting with the 45-degree diagonal walls. So here's the a view from the bottom of the intersecting pattern. And a view from the top over here. And on the outside over here, we start to get somewhat more complicated. It's at this point At this level, you want to draw in these connecting beams made entirely of sea lanterns that I have for the structure. I believe they are 2 blocks thick, but for the most part, they're going to be 3 blocks wide. And you want to sight these along the lines that we have down there below. So this will serve as sort of a check on the structure. And once you have your beams, you can just follow your center line and connect them to the outer pier like you have done along here. It's also at this point, we are starting to divide these piers into two, like so. They're going to be going up at that angle, and there's going to be a little V-shape section we're building in here, which means your sea lanterns on the inside need to follow that same pattern as we've been doing. On the outside, it looks like there are no changes along there, so I'll give you a view of this from the inside here. As you can see here from below. And of course, this pier over here is the same as this one over here. It's just twisted in the opposite direction. So you'll want to do the same thing for the interior indentation over here also. Now let's take a look at the beam that's connecting the diagonal portals. As you can see, this one is 3 blocks wide. Well, I mean 3 blocks wide like that. Done all the way across to the next pier. And it follows the 45-degree diagonal along here. So let's go over here and see what's going on here. The walls of this pier are going straight up as before, except for the beam over here. The side walls and the side diagonals are going up according to this pattern over here. At this level, they will be dividing like those, except they do it a little bit higher up than that one. And here is both sides of those. And you want to build the exact same thing on the inside over here, except I think we should take a look at the collision of the piers on this section a little bit more. So I believe that describes everything on this phase. So let us go on to the next one. At this point, your base should now be 49 blocks tall. The walls on the center are extending up like so. The diagonals are extending up also. And the interior piers here are now starting to divide in the middle themselves, which I should show you this on the outside. It'll be easier to see. This is a little bit more complicated in this section here. This section is the division over here of that, except it's made in a diagonal. Over here, this is the beginnings of that, which is why over here, this diagonal starts going this way at this top level here. So let's move all the way around the structure over here. It looks like on the exterior here, we're also beginning to get ready to have these things go straight up on the outside. So we're capping this off with some dark prismarine along here. And from above there, you want to have some sea lanterns hidden behind that and on the top. And a view from the top here. Looking down into the pier here. A view from over here. And the sides are going straight up out here. And we have our 2 block thick energy beams will now be complete at this level. So you will have those going from all 8 sides, which should converge in the middle. Now let's take a look at this pier over here. As you can see, it divided along here, and it's now going straight up on both sides in sort of a Y shape. And here's what it looks like on the inside here. We, of course, have our prismarine and hidden sea lanterns, as you well know by now. We have the energy beam that goes from the central tower, connecting the piers, comes in over here on the straight face of this wall. And I believe on the outside here, this is still extending straight out. But in the next phase, I think the next phase or two, we're going to be starting to make this go vertical on the outside also. And let's take a look as the last thing for the collision of the piers in the middle here. As you can see, the pattern of the two piers collides with itself in the middle along here. And it gets rather messy in this section. So I'll give you a good slow look at the block patterns done here. I probably have too many sea lanterns around in this area. And here's what it looks like from underneath. Underneath there and underneath here. You don't have to worry about the interior pattern too much because they're hollow. Just get the exterior done like you see done here. And of course, it's the same on both sides around here. Okay, let's head on over here to the next phase. At this level, your base should now be 51 blocks tall. The walls here are, of course, extending upwards. And let's take a look at the collision of the piers here in the middle. You can see we've got some detail here. The prismarine is starting to head up to the central point down here, and this will all be covered over fairly shortly. Done with this same pattern here. And a view from below, and a view from the outside here. I believe at this section we also have these diagonal piers starting to face the other way with the dark prismarine in here. So let's head out over here and take a look at this in isolation. Here we have the beginnings of the Y separation in the outer piers. Done with dark prismarine. We've got some hidden sea lanterns down there below this on both sides. So I'll give you a long, slow look at this. It should be symmetrical on both sides through here, by the way. And a view from the side here. Let's take a look at the exterior here. We're starting to cap off and bend this section upwards. Here's a view from below of this. And a view from above here. We've got, of course, more hidden sea lanterns and more prismarine. View from the side here. And of course, this pier is the same as this one over here for the interior and exterior. I think the only thing that's different around here is I'll just show you the view of how the sea lanterns interface with this section below here. And they also cut into the dark prismarine at one block level here. Otherwise, they are exactly the same as the ones on the outer ring. So with that done, let's go up 2 additional blocks and see what we've got in store. At this level, your base should be 53 blocks tall. The central walls here are extending upwards. They're going to do this for quite a while. And let's take a look at how the piers here are all colliding with each other. It gets extremely messy at this point in here, actually. And I'm really not sure how exactly to describe this mess to you other than to show it to you so you can do your best to make some sense of it. As I've remarked before, these piers are all so far the same on the outside as they are on the inside. They're just colliding with each other, and it's making a bit of a mess. So let's take a look at how they interface along here. Fairly easy. You're just taking the repeating patterns that you should know how to do by now, and they're sort of all meeting together here in the middle to create this. And let's go to the outside here so I can show this to you in isolation. Might make a little bit more sense. We talked about the dividing of the pier over here, and you're doing this, mirroring this on both sides over here and over here, going up at 45-degree angles on either side like that. And you're following the same established pattern of doing the prismarine in like this. Let me go down here and show you what we've got going on the inside in here. It might help you with the patterning of this. And on the outside here, we are now going straight up along here on the outside of the pier. And along the inside of here, we're also going straight up on that one. And you want to do your best to take this pattern that you've built on the outside here. This is sort of the clean version of that. And then you want to build it over here again. But it's going to be colliding and pressing up against all the other blocks here in the central section. Which, I mean, as you go through this, probably some of these are unnecessary. But do your best to replicate the pattern as it is pressing together. Let's take a look at what's going on the outside pier here. As we can see here, this wall here is going straight up. And this wall here is still going at a 45-degree angle. But as you notice, it is now shortly going to collide with this one that is going straight up. And it's going to make a sort of a terminus along here. So here is the view of that from the side, from the side on the inside, on both sides, and along the outside here, you want to put a band of dark prismarine because this section is now going to stop going outwards and start going upwards, like that one started to do a couple of blocks ago. They don't exactly start doing that at the same levels between the straight piers and the ones done at a 45-degree angle, by the way. So, with that done, let us move on over here. Next phase, your base should now be 55 blocks tall. We have the walls here are now starting to meet at the top here. We just have some blocks coming in like that. And things are getting very messy along here. We should have the interior portion of this complete. This section should be mirrored on that section over there and should now be completely covered over. Let me give you a view of the interface of this from the outside over here. It's at this section here that these outer parts, these are extending upwards out that way, and then they're going to start turning and going up this way. But they meet and collide in the middle over here, like as is done so. And it's at this point I want to remark that if you're having trouble with this complicated section here, remember, this world is available for download in the video description, so you can come to this phase at this exact level and take a look at this for yourself if what you're seeing in the video is not good enough to help you construct it. So that is that interface done there, and as you can see here, we have a big void down here in all these piers here. I presume you'd want to build some sort of storage system or various parts of your base you could put in here somewhere. It's got a lot of space on the inside. Now in isolation, let's come out here and take a look at the outside piers. As you can see here, we're starting to come up to a terminus on this section over here. All the patterns are meeting and colliding together. They're either going straight up or bending over here. So I'll give you a good view of this here. What it should look like there. It's a little complicated. But remember, all the patterns on this, they repeat, and they only get complicated when they collide together. But if you follow the same pattern and extend things up, they should naturally meet without too much effort. So on the sides over here, we have our diagonal piers on this side. I believe from the last phase, they're going straight up over here, and the Y shape in the middle is continuing outwards. And they're going straight up along here. The interior diagonal piers do exactly the same thing. And the outside vertical piers, they are also coming to a terminus around here, as you can see. They're a much easier pattern to replicate than the ones that are diagonals, of course. And the outside of these also, they are now beginning to have a dark prismarine band here, and they will begin going vertical after this phase here. So let us move on another phase. At this level, your base should be 57 blocks tall. And there's a little bit of a detail here. We are mirroring the prismarine ring, the sea lantern ring we did many phases ago back down there. You're doing that again up here. I suppose you can probably not have those blocks. And this mess in here is just a residue from colliding the towers together, so you can probably end up leaving much of this hollow. So don't worry too much about that, because the exterior here is the portion that you're going to see. So this is the only one you need to worry about. And there's some details around here. And I suppose you could probably fill that in with a little dark prismarine. In fact, you could probably do that all the way around here. And done like that in sort of triangle thing here to fill that in. Now around here, let's take a look at the outside towers again in isolation because they're easier to see. Up here, we have the dark prismarine bands on all these sides are beginning to meet and come up to a terminus around here. And I'll give you a good top-down view of that. This should be the last little bit of prismarine you have to build over there. And the sea lanterns on the side there. And you're mirroring that pattern going up on this side also. And you're going up straight on the exterior over there as well. For the outside piers, as I've said, this section is now going vertical from this point. And the interior sections have the same pattern, are continuing up unchanged. And they are now meeting at this section over here as well. And your interior pier along here is doing the same thing. So let us go up one more phase. At this level, your base should be 59 blocks tall. And over here, things are getting a little messy and complicated around here actually. Because we have the green bands from all 8 of these pillars have collided together. And they're making this sort of a kaleidoscope pattern we've got going on around here. I will give you a look at this as best I can. And I think there are some unnecessary voids in here, like that stuff you probably don't need to build. Here's a view from the outside. It's gotten very simple around here, thankfully. Things are continuing straight up on the outside because we have the central piers are now connecting with each other. Remember, we first had the diagonal piers down here connect first, but now at this level, we are having the straight piers connect with each other around here. So this is going to be symmetrical around here. And I think in here, you don't need to build this stuff. That's just a residue from when I collided them together. So let's go out here, take a look at the towers on the outer ring. The sections here, we finished the last of the prismarine in the last phase here, and we just have these end caps here that are going to be made of sea lanterns and dark prismarine coming up and meeting together at the top here. And they're going to fairly shortly meet in a little thing up here. And this section over here, it's a standard repeating pattern going both outwards over here and upwards, as you can see here. Just to keep extending those up like you have been doing. And for the outer piers here, it is the same story over here as well. They're going vertical here. 45-degree angles in a Y shape along here. And they are meeting at the top over here. And I think the very last thing you have to do for this is put some dark prismarine, probably like that, along here to cap those off on the side there. Okay, with that done, I think I have done as much damage to this phase as I can. So let's move on to the next one over here. At this level, your massive base should now be 61 blocks tall. And we have a big mess over here of colliding prismarine patterns together. Done like so. For this section, most of this is interior. I think it's below a glass floor. So you may want to ignore this part entirely and roof the entire thing over if you don't want to put anything in here. So you don't have to pay very close attention to what I've done in here. Just get the exterior right along here because it's just going up in a straight wall for this phase over here. I think at this section we're actually, instead of going out over here, we're now starting to turn this vertical to go that way, as is evidenced by the band of dark prismarine we've got going on over here. Let's take a look at the outer pier because it's a cleaner example of that. I believe that is that's actually this part over here. Done over there. It's also at this point you should have your end piers capped off like this here. So at this point, from this section on upwards, there is nothing to build. So this part of your base is complete. And you're going to be building from here, pretty much from this point on upwards. For quite a ways, it will shortly turn a corner here and go upwards for several phases like this is beginning to do out here. So let's take a look at this. As you can see, the outer sections here still going upwards. The sections on the outside here are beginning to curve together. It's at this section here that this is also beginning to turn and go vertical. So that gets capped off here with dark prismarine and sea lanterns like this, because this is now going to be a vertical section, as is outlined by that there. Let me give you a good top-down view of what we've got here. And as you can see, these end caps over here on this section are also complete as well, as is done like so. And of course, everything gets mirrored and collided together in here. That same section is the same as is being done over here for the last couple of phases. This is beginning to also stop going outwards and turn vertical from this section over here, like I just outlined over there. It's the exact same thing. And we have our central piers here also. And I think that's everything on that one. So let's go up another phase and see what we've got going on. I think we can begin to make up a little bit of time here because they start going vertical. So at this point, we are 63 blocks tall. And I think this stuff around here has stopped going upwards. So we have the interior along here going up, vertical walls along there, vertical walls along the outside here. This section is now going straight up this way from the top here. These are going to be going straight up from these, and these are going to continue going upwards. So let's take a look at the exterior pier on that, since it'll be somewhat clearer. So as you can see here, we've turned corners and we're going upwards that way. This section is finished, so I will no longer remark on it. And we have the side view here, along here and along there. Quite simple. Along here we have, of course, those are finished also. And this section here has turned and it is going vertical also, straight up for these two blocks. Which means for the interior sections here, you are doing the same thing for this section also here. And for these interior sections here. So we can hopefully start making a little bit more rapid progress as some of the hard to do sections are behind us at this phase. At this point, we are 65 blocks tall. And the interior walls are, of course, going straight up along the inside and the outside along here. Very simple to do on the interior at this point. The exterior, of course, is exactly the same, taking the same pattern pretty much as when we started the piers all the way down here at the bottom. We're doing that again, except we're now doing it here at the top. And you want to do the same thing, of course, for the diagonal sections over here, continuing those straight up another 2 blocks, same materials, leaving gaps over here for this and the sea lanterns. And the same thing over here for this middle section along here. Okay, we can quickly go up another 2 blocks. At this height over here, we should be at 67 blocks tall. You extend the walls up again on the inside and the outside of all the piers, going all the way around here and there. I don't think there are any changes to that just yet. So we can skip over these phases fairly quickly because all you're doing is going around your base with the patterns you have already made and just build everything up another 2 blocks. And I think you actually want to do the same thing again for level 69 up here, which we are at now. So I'll give you a view of what we've got going on along here. We've got some interesting shapes along here in the middle that you can now very clearly see, and maybe this will help give you a better idea of what is going on in the complicated bits down below there. The outside piers are, of course, all the same design as the interior ones. They're continuing up another 2 blocks all the way around for this phase also. And I believe the same is actually true again for this next phase here, which is going to be number 71. So I will give you a quick look at this. I don't think there are any changes to this just yet. No, I don't see any. So I believe the next phase is actually the same again. So you want to continue up everything just the same, another 2 blocks, till you get to level 73. And it looks like also level 75 is almost the same, because we're going to start getting some changes here. So at level 75, we have the interior walls extended all the way up here, along the inside here, except we're now going to start bending these back out, which is what this block here is doing. So this is, remember, going to be at level 75. When you get up to that, which you should be able to very quickly get up to this level, and the outer piers over here are doing the same as well at this section here. So let's go on to another phase over here and see what we've got going. I think it's mostly the same at level 77. The interior walls are going straight up. The exterior walls also, except we are now bending this out with another dark prismarine diagonal with, of course, the sea lanterns hidden behind them on both sides. And all of this should be symmetrical all the way around. Looks like the diagonal piers are extended upwards without change. And the side piers, of course, follow the diagonal bending inwards, like I've shown you over there. So let's go over here to this phase and see what it has. This is level 79, getting quite high up now. The interior walls going straight up for the central piers. The diagonals are meeting together here at the middle, like that there. I don't think we have any changes still on the side diagonal piers. They look to be exactly the same. And the side piers over here, they have the same pattern we've got here, except it's facing inwards instead of outwards. So you want to build it according to this pattern there, and remember to step in your sea lanterns as you do it. And from there, we can quickly hop over to this phase over here, which is going to be phase 81, which we will have to describe in the next video because we are again out of time. So it looks like we're going to have many parts to this tutorial. It's an extremely large build, the biggest and most complicated one I've attempted to describe so far. So I hope you are having fun building the structure, and remember, if you need to see these phases for yourself up close, the download is linked in the video description, as well as a straight download for the completed base that's already been put into a standard Minecraft world in case you don't want to build it and you just want to play on it. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time in part 3.